Hi, welcome to Coffee at the Crossroads. I'm Bill, and today I wanted to kind of continue on my series, what it's like to be an expat in the UK. I had someone comment and call me an immigrant, which I'm totally cool with. I guess I am an immigrant. I moved here from another country, so I immigrated here, I guess. So I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, I consider myself an expat. Anyway, not that that's what matters. But yeah, so just, in continuing that kind of topic, I just thought I'd take you through, the city here and part of the kind of living history, part of, the history being all around us and something that I think is really cool about living in the UK. And one of the things that struck me since we've been here is in our neighborhood is like, what the street names are and how those streets got their names. And I noticed that some of them were famous authors and mostly poets. And I did a little digging, and it turns out that Worthing almost has its own little poets' corner, not as big and famous as the London Poets' Corner, but yeah, there's some sort of intersections where we've got famous poets and stuff like that. So I went out and shot some video, and I'm sort of wandering around the neighborhood and finding and doing some research. And I'm going to admit right now, I didn't know most of this stuff, so I don't want to come across as some kind of expert. I'm certainly no English literature expert, but some of the names, obviously, there's Shakespeare and there's Byron and Chaucer and Browning and some of those that I'm like, oh, hey, those are authors. And that's what sort of piqued my interest. I was like, oh, okay. So I want to take you on a tour. Let's go. Talk about history being all around us, and it's in the street names, right? And so I just thought I'd take you through and show you some of it. Right here at the corner of Heen and Mill Road inexplicably turns into Cowper Road, which, am I going to get run over? Let's try to not do that. William Cowper wrote a couple of poems. I had to do some research. I certainly didn't know this, I will tell you. One called The Task, and another one called The Castaway, which is about his declining mental health, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, so this street that I'm walking down is named after Cowper. So I'm still on Cowper, and we're at the intersection. You might have heard of this guy over here. He's pretty famous. So I'm still on Shakespeare. I'm gonna turn this around. Yeah, so this is part of the neighborhood, as I said. And William Shakespeare. He famously of Macbeth and Hamlet and Othello and all those other works that don't come to mind right now. But obviously, possibly the most famous English writer. And now I'm at the corner of Chaucer Road. Famous, obviously, author Geoffrey Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales. And I'm at the point where it intersects with Longfellow Road of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And that right there across the way is Shakespeare Road. So I don't think this is technically Poets' Corner, but it certainly could be. Longfellow is famous for a poem, well, lots of poems, but one called Paul Revere's Ride, which the term "to if by sea" comes from. So if you've heard that term before, that's Longfellow. I'm at the corner of Shakespeare and Browning. You can see that maybe across the way, but I'm going to flip this around so we can see. Hang on. There it is. Browning Road. Apologies for the camera work. Robert Browning wrote a famous poem called Porphyra's Lover, which is pretty dark, actually. When you read it, it's about a guy who strangles his lover with her own hair. So that's kind of interesting. Picking up my English poets. I've got Shelley Road. I'm guessing this is named after Percy B. Shelley, author of Ozymandias, but it could also include his wife, Mary Shelley, who of course wrote Frankenstein. And across the way is Wordsworth Road. I'm going to zoom in there a little bit. We can see it. Wordsworth was famous for a poem called, or is famous for a poem called I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. It's also called Daffodils. It's a nice, cheerful little poem, so that one's nice. So welcome back again. I'm on Shelley Road, as I just referenced, and we're making our way east, if it matters. And got a street. We just passed Shakespeare. I've kind of been zigzagging around here. Yeah, so we just passed Shakespeare, and now we're coming up on a road called, I don't want to get run over, pardon me here. We're coming up on a road, I'm going to flip this around, called Southey Road, named after English poet Robert Southey. Southey's maybe not as famous as some of the others, but he wrote a poem called After Blenheim, which is a really good poem. It's got dark themes in it. It's about war and all that stuff, but it's a good poem. There is a luxury nursing home in this neighborhood called, you guessed it, The Poets, named after all the streets around here. Maybe one of the most famous is Lord Byron, and we have Byron Road. Lord Byron wrote a couple of, sort of famous for a couple of poems. I mean, all of these guys wrote lots of stuff, but he wrote She Walks in Beauty, and Fare Thee Well is a little dark, or a little bit, it's kind of a nasty, poem to his soon-to-be ex-wife. He and his wife separated, so he wrote this poem called Fare Thee Well, which is interesting to read. We're coming up on Tennyson Road, named after Alfred, Lord Tennyson, who was a member of the House of Lords, but was also a famous poet. Tennyson, sort of one of his great works is Ulysses, which is effectively the story of Odysseus, but Ulysses is the Roman name for Odysseus. And we are on Milton Street, and I'm gonna make my way west down this tiny little street. It's just a shorty. I don't know, maybe Milton wasn't that famous. He was pretty famous though. He wrote Paradise Lost. So I'm not gonna pretend that I've read it, because I haven't. But I know that he wrote it. I don't know what that means, but yeah. So we're on Milton Street and we're heading west. Just wanted to get this because I love the way that sign is integrated into the wall and it's being taken over by the foliage. Fantastic. One of the things I love about England. I'm now just coming down Heen Road to our final stop on this little English literary tour of Worthing. And yeah, this is not a road, but this is probably a guy that we've all heard of. So I'm going to switch the phone around, the camera around, and you can see what I'm talking about. So there we go. We've got the Charles Dickens Pub. Dickens, famous for Tale of Two Cities and Great Expectations and David Copperfield and all those fantastic books. Do yourself a favor, read some Dickens. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the tour. I'm gonna go back and record a little intro and a little closing statement back at home. But yeah, that's a little tour around the poet streets of Worthing. I think it's interesting just, to note that, it speaks to when Worthing really developed as a town in the UK. In around that sort of late 19th century, 1880 to 1900 is when, Worthing was kind of a popular place. and lots of construction and lots of houses were built, and obviously the streets were named after authors of the day, right? Late Victorian era, those authors, Byron and Tennyson and Browning, and they were all kind of a big deal, right? So again, it's part of that kind of living history, right? Like history all around us, that the street names that we don't give much thought to have they have a significance, right? So I love that stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna sign off here, and then I'll do a bit of a closing bit when I get home and I've got proper setup. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. If you're still here, thank you for watching this far. I want to say a big thank you to the people who have watched my previous videos, and I got such a great response to the expat videos, the one about the post boxes, and the one about the sort of English expressions, one that had fun, what we would call it and what the English call it and all that stuff. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Thanks for the new subscribers. That's fantastic. Yeah, so just a big thank you. It's really, that's how I want to build this channel. I want to get feedback and go, hey, people want to see more of this. And so that's really, really helpful. Thanks for everybody who commented. I try to get back to everybody. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been really fun. So yeah, this whole thing about the poets in Worthing, the street names and all of that stuff, right? It's just an example of kind of living history. You don't often think about, why is that street called that, and why is that called, Byron, or why is that called Wordsworth, or why is that called Shelley, or why is that called Milton, or whatever it is, right? We don't give a lot of thought to it. And then when you kind of do a little research, it's really cool, right? Like, and I, it's something as an expat, as a Canadian here, I just find that fascinating. And anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, awesome, thank you. If you like what you see, give me a little thumbs up, please. Subscribe, tell your friends. Yeah, and watch more of my videos. And, thanks again for joining me at Coffee at the Crossroads. Until next time. Cheers.